This is Queen Elizabeth National Park, a land of beauty covering a land area of some 1,978 square kilometers in the heart of the Great Albertine Rift. Gazetted in 1952 by the British colonial government, these flat, low-lying grasslands were protected to conserve the abundance of nature in the region. Stretching from the undulating hills quite close to Mountain Rwenzori in the north, through the sharp-edged escarpment and crater lakes down to Ishasha in the south, lies the cradle of beauty, unequaled anywhere in the world. The physical features here, coupled with the magnificent scenery, makes visiting Queen Elizabeth National Park a true adventure. It is a place formed as a result of the tectonic forces that took advantage of the Earth's crust several million years ago. The sharp-edged escarpment and the deep basin-like depressions combine well with the flora and fauna to crown Queen Elizabeth National Park a true gift of nature. And in the middle of this magnificent scenery lies Uganda's richest biodiversity, nestling along the Kazinga Channel that connects Lake Edward to George. A source of water that supports critical species of nature in the region. In fact, Uganda's three heavyweights dwell here: the hippo, the elephant, and the buffalo coexist with the other forms of creation. And without the Kazinga Channel, life would almost be impossible. And all of a sudden, new challenges have arrived to distort this melody of nature. The coming of exotic weeds and indigenous invasive plant species are quickly altering the ecological function of the area. The cradle of nature is no longer the same. A few years ago, a new weed was discovered along the basins of the Kazinga Channel. The Congress weed, a native of the Horn of Africa, found its way to Uganda's second largest conservation area, the Queen Elizabeth National Park. The Congress weed is highly toxic to the majority of animal and plant species here. Nelson Guma is the area conservation manager, Queen Elizabeth National Park.
So all the parts of this plant, they are poisonous. They have toxins in here, whether it is the pollen or any other part of this plant. It's poisonous. And the way this plant grows is such that it can inhibit growth of other plants by poisoning them. So it can inhibit the growth, survival, and reproduction of other plants. And it is a pioneer species, which means that where it falls, it will be the first one to germinate. It stops others from germinating. That is its behavior.
So the weed is here. Quick action has to be taken if nature is to survive. Conservationists are taking no chances. They are doubling their efforts in studying its ecology.
You see, the other problem with this plant is the adaptation. You can see it's beginning to flower. That's why when you break it, you don't uproot it. You see the stage at which it's beginning to flower.
It means it was cut?
Yes. So it adapts.
Hey.
What is that? This problem began when we saw this weed. As you can see, it's very conspicuous with the white flowers. Then we identified it and realized that it is one of the weeds of national significance. And of course, we did a bit of research on it to understand its ecology. And when we did that, then we embarked on the eradication.
So, the Congress weed, known to scientists as Parthenium hystephorus, is highly aggressive and fast-spreading. A single plant has the ability of producing up to 30,000 seeds on average. It is imperative not to bury the uprooted plants, since this can lead to build-up of substantial persistent soil seed bank. 50% of the buried seeds can remain dormant for up to 26 months. On the contrary, surface-lying seeds survive for not longer than 6 months. So the Congress seed has the adaptation ability to hide underground during harsh times. They will then germinate in big numbers when conditions are favorable. The weed, which has so far colonized close to 10% of the park, is strongly competing and displacing native plants upon which animals depend. The most affected areas are along the Kazinga Channel, where most animals converge to drink water. Incidentally, current studies identify grazing animals as major vectors of dispersal.
You see where we are. It's at the banks of the river. This is the Kazinga Channel. As you may be aware, there are so many hippos in the channel here. So hippos normally go out to feed. So as they come back to water, so they carry some of these seeds onto their bodies and they drop here. And so that's how it has moved from the game track there up to here. So it's dispersed by wind, water, then animals and vehicles.
Depending on the number of observations at the same point, you must mount an equivalent number of waypoints.
To understand more about the distribution of this weed, conservationists and researchers like Margaret Drichiru are building the capacity of park rangers to monitor the location and magnitude of spread. This training forum will now enable park rangers to gather data that will assist in research findings and implementation.
So the training has different objectives. One, we want the rangers to understand what kind of data requirements are expected of them, because the data is being used to monitor threats to the park and to monitor changes. If there are threats, which threats are they? Where are they located? In what quantities are they? And how are those quantities changing over time?
So, rangers will inform researchers critical areas of infestation and magnitude. Park management will then identify quick intervention strategies to contain the situation.
Get ready, get hot. I think we need to take advantage of the weather now.
Yes.
Queen Elizabeth Conservation Area has a consortium of conservation stakeholders, the so-called Friends of Queen. Friends of Queen is a team of volunteers ready to extend conservation efforts when a threat is felt. They will always mobilize communities to take action. Enid Nimusima is a member of Friends of Queen working with the Daily Monitor based in Kasese. She has mobilized the Kasese media fraternity to join the campaign.
On several occasions, UWA has been approaching us saying that we create awareness about this dangerous weed. But we felt it good to be part, so that if we are telling the public of how dangerous the weed is, we have already participated and seen how it is. Even you see the mode of dressing. And we want also to improve the working relationship with the park authorities.
And for Wilson Asimwe of the New Vision, time had come for agents of change to lead by example and walk the talk.
As journalists, our work is to inform the society, but we are also change makers. We are also agents of change. So we cannot leave Queen Elizabeth National Park to be invaded by this weed.
Godfrey is not a journalist, but a local politician, strongly committed to save nature.
We are getting a lot of money from these national parks, and why people come here is to look at the animals and not this weed.
The launching of the hot air balloon is seen as a new tool for conservation management. Apart from viewing nature from above, conservation managers will now be able to monitor various threats and their distribution from above. The Congress weed is not the only invasive plant species threatening the ecology of Queen Elizabeth National Park. Other indigenous plant species like speargrass, Lantana camara, and now Dicrostatis cinerea, known as Siko bush, are quickly altering the ecological functioning of a big portion of the park. The plant is a nitrogen-fixing legume and belonging to the same family as Coriandra. It is a native to Africa, but can also be found in India and Southeast Asia. In Africa, Dicrostatis cinerea is also known as the Kalahari Christmas tree. The Kalahari Christmas tree, Lantana camara, and speargrass are increasingly becoming problem species in the park. Park officials now say close to 30% of this conservation area is threatened.
Where there are other invasives, of course, we do have Lantana camara in the park. This one is mostly dispersed by birds. So this concrete weed and Lantana camara, they are called alien invasives, meaning that they are introduced or brought into the park. They don't naturally occur here. But we also have those that are native. We have a plant called Dicrostatis cinerea. It is the Kalahari tree, and it is a thorny species. This is a native, but it has overgrown others. And then we have grass. The speargrass is also another native invasive species, so it outcompetes other grasses.
So if you take the coverage of speargrass and you take the coverage of Dicrostatis and other exotic and indigenous invasive species, then the coverage is much higher than that.
How much higher is that? Around how much?
Probably up to 30%, because wherever you find grassland, you find speargrass is there. So if you combine speargrass, Dicrostatis, and the Lantana camara, and Parthenium, you know, so the coverage could easily reach 30%.
The invasives partly is an ecosystem change. Secondly, like you can imagine, we have colonizers that start, then after colonizers we have those plants coming in place, and that's why you have the ecosystem of Queen Elizabeth changing from savanna to forest. The structure is actually changing. We are getting other structures that were not there before.